Tuvalu, and welcome back to Star Trek Season 2, Episode 1, Amok Time, or as the real fans know it, Episode 5. That's why I always stumble over and have to think about what episode we're on. Where today, yes, well, first off, I have to turn off the engine hum for me, thank you very much. But we are watching Amok Time. It aired as the Series 2 premiere. It was actually the 5th produced, that's why we're watching it here. My time bar is gone. But yeah, before I get too much into the episode, if you don't know what we're doing, we are basically recording an audio commentary track live, as I desperately try and hide my mouse around behind this clipboard. So for legal reasons, of course, I can't just stream an episode of Star Trek. It is bring your own video, bring your own audio. I'll be streaming a blurred version in the background and have the time bar to help people stay synced. But after I ramble a bit, introduce the episode so you can get set up. We'll be doing a countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. On go, everyone's going to hit play, and then we should be synced up. Synced up. Personally, I am watching the remastered versions of the episode. I doubt it really matters for Amok Time. I don't remember it being particularly effects heavy. But if you want to watch the original, it shouldn't matter. Everyone should still stay synced up. They're the same time, the same scenes, it's just slightly different visuals. In the description, there's a link to TOS on Paramount+. Last I checked, it looked like they had the remastered version, so you would be watching the same as me, but I've got a Blu-ray rip, which is why it looks like VLC Media Player. Amok Time. The episode that introduced the Vulcans as a society as opposed to just Spock. Much beloved episode, of course. Strange New Worlds has made a career off of violating it. We've all... it's a good episode. It introduces, at least I think by release order, that amazing fight music, whatever it's called. I always just think of it as the TOS fight music. But... I honestly actually remember it as being one that I'm not as enamored with as most. But maybe that'll change. I also learned hilariously that Germany apparently thought that, like, the mating habits of Vulcans was a little too... you don't want to broadcast that, is what they were thinking. So the original German dub of the original series, Spock has, like, a deadly flu, and Bones injects him at, like, the beginning of the episode, and they wave away most everything else as a hallucination. The Enterprise doesn't go to Vulcan, Spock doesn't kill Kirk, it's all hallucinations. I'm like, wow. Bending over backwards there. But yeah, it is interesting that, like, this is the episode that forevermore, anytime you're, like, about to watch a Star Trek series and you learn there's a Vulcan, the first thing that pops to mind is their reproductive habits. At least that's for me. I spent, like, most of my watch-throughs originally going up to Voyager, aware that it was 7 years and that it had a Vulcan main character. And I was like, I wonder if they're going to do a Pon Farr episode. How's that going to work when you're in the Delta Quadrant? But anyway, I think I've probably introduced it enough. As I said before, we're going to do a countdown of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. On go, everybody's going to hit play. And then don't skip intro. Don't do anything weird like that. We're just going to have it play so everyone can stay synced. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. That one felt slower than usual. I don't know why. I look at the recording timer when I do that. Oh, hang on. And properly mute system output. Well, he's sick with a deadly disease. No. I mean, I think part of it, at least on my rewatches, I don't remember the original watch through. I mean, I would have been like 5. But the second time I watched TOS, it was actually after all the other series, right? All the other classic Treks. And so it always feels weird that, like, they just don't know about Pon Farr. For one, just because they've known the Vulcans for like 100 years. But that, like, this wouldn't be known when... First off, McCoy has a Vulcan patient. He didn't Google it. But Spock didn't inform him. And I know there's a whole cultural thing, but, like... I don't think you can just hide that, you know? But I'm not going to hold that against this episode too much, because that's, like, Enterprise issues. I was about to make a joke, like, now, Bones, you can be racist, but Spock said something mean. We're gonna do something about it. But no, this is a little, this is a little much. You know, I don't think it's ever been established. Someone in chat, let me know. Is the Pon farm cycle regular? Is it like 7 years to the day? Or is there like months of wiggle room? Because Pon far always comes up like very suddenly when it's in the episodes. Because, you know, that's how you get an episode. But, could Spock have feasibly just like built up all his leave time? I think this episode might have even established he never takes a vacation. He probably could have taken like 3 months off for Pon far. But maybe it's the taboo thing. They don't want to acknowledge it. I don't know. But I just don't think it's ever come up. Is Pon far super regular? Hi, comment. Oh, I know. It's nice to have the screaming lady. There we go, my dogs. Now making himself cozy under the blanket by my legs. He does not want to watch Amok Time. I'm also enjoying, I kind of know when the big episodes come up, that there might be more viewers, that the constant stream of people coming, then immediately leaving is rather amusing, this stream. Theodore Sturgeon, you know what? I'd love to look into why he decided to make an episode about Vulcan mating rituals. Not your sexist habits. Yeah, there we go. I assume that's counting Strange New World. No, that's unfair. It's at least a year. Yeah. I always find this weird, too. Maybe military people can tell me. Like, I can wake up sick, go on my phone, and take the day off. Okay, I guess that's the thing, is I can't take you to Vulcan. But often in Star Trek, you get a thing where someone's like, I want shore leave, or I want this thing. And the captain's like, denied. It's like, can you just do that? Like, that doesn't seem right. I'd get it if there was a critical mission, you know? Like, you needed to give some leeway time, some notice, but yeah. How long would it take to get to Vulcan? 5 years. Dang. Oh no, he's just gonna do it. I remember Spock stealing the ship. Sorry, just the food on the wall. I remember Spock stealing the ship, though, so maybe the mission's not critical yet? I suppose it's a good little mystery, though, when you don't know what's going on. Like, surely I guess the Admiralty could be ordered not to say anything, but you know, every Vulcan in Starfleet every 7 years goes crazy and has to go back to Vulcan. You realize something's up, you know? I mean, that seems like a pretty last minute pull forward. I if they have to, like, change their route for that, must be the most important. Actually, inauguration, I guess those can be pretty important. Like, maybe their last ruler died or something. I don't know. Are there shuttles in TOS warp capable? I don't recall. I don't think they are, though, so you can't just take a shuttle. Even though they really look warp capable. I at least kind of like that the episode tried, yeah, sure, we'll just take you to Vulcan. We got time. Um, but again, looking at the time bar, I think that's this episode's way of wasting 5 minutes, because we're at about 43, you know, the length of a modern episode, and we can get the story going. Yeah, also not this episode's fault, but one of Strange New World's biggest mistakes was having an admiral tell Spock, if you ever pull something like this again, you're out of Starfleet, when the thing he pulled was a mutiny. I'm like, you know this happens, guys. You know he does like 4 mutinies. It is nice seeing Leonard Nimoy. I mean, it's still very subtle sort of stuff, but he's doing acting that's not just like the emotionless Spock type, which is very difficult to actually do right, like he does and like Brent Spiner does. Um, but he's also doing these extra stuff well, much like Brent Spiner could when the script asked for it. It's just that's the thing for me. I just can't get past how comical kind of the scenario is in the wider concept of the franchise. And I think other episodes, other Ponfar episodes, handle the like this taboo's really dumb aspect better. Or kind of, I don't know. They explore the flaws in Vulcan society that I think TOS does it ever. Do we ever really analyze Vulcan society as like is flawed before like Next Generation or even Deep Space Nine? Because I'm just trying to think, do we even see Vulcan society outside of this and like Spock's dad? I don't think so. So I guess in Germany, this is the part where Bones gives him a shot and then like everything else goes crazy. They did redub the German one sometime later, and so it actually has the same plot. But I just found that funny. The episode's called like Space Madness or something. Wait, did Bones just like figure out Pon Far? First medical officer in history to examine a Vulcan. Well, Jim, there's this thing called doctor-patient confidentiality, so I can't tell you, because Spock clearly... Oh, he doesn't know. Fair enough. Nah, who cares about doctor-patient confidentiality? I wonder, sitting down in like the 60s, or just your first time watching the episode, where you think this is going, and how many people would guess that this is going to be like a wedding in 10 minutes, 20 minutes. They won't send me any new photos. In fact, I should have taken new photos when I met my wife in the past. No. I said last week, we're going to try and not make this a Rip Strange New Worlds Apart stream. I can say a lot of great things about Strange New Worlds, but most of my criticisms happen to relate to this episode. But this is the first time I'm watching it since Strange New Worlds, which has, of course, destroyed the plot of this one. Oh, there we go. At least they had a thing. I was about to say, I bet Trip knew, but... I'd be interested. I mean, God knows how you'd manage it. But a sort of Pon Farr story, but before the age of Sarek, you know? Like, was just this a great party time? Did everyone look forward to it every 7 years? It was like a celebration. I don't know. I don't know how you'd cover it at all, but I think it'd be an interesting story to tell or something to explore. Just generally, actually, the time before Sarek is interesting. Because obviously it had to work for about the same amount of time that human history has worked. Look, Kirk, it is reproduction. I don't know how you got there from biology. Spock, are you pregnant? I just imagine Kirk's gonna go on the intercom like, right, people, we gotta get to Vulcan. Spock's got a mate. I mean, the Pon Farr, especially as Vulcans are presented now, is an interesting concept. Exploring the ideas of our, for lack of a better word, the like sort of evolved traits of humans, like our logic, our reason, our higher levels of thinking, just going away and going back to some sort of, for lack of a better word, bestial or animalistic form. And it's a pretty 60s idea, but it's actually one of the few episodes that I'm not like, it doesn't feel outdated in that sense. Where I've talked before, a lot of episodes talk about how humanity is like inherently evil and savage and is spending like every waking moment trying not to murder each other. And it's not even just something in like Star Trek. 60s Doctor Who has this as well. And I'm like, I can't relate to it at all. And so no, usually it just feels weird. It's like it's hard to even comprehend what it must have been like living in those Cold War eras, but this one doesn't. Also, God, we've got the best soundtrack. I don't know what it's called or who wrote it, but it's this fight music. It's brilliant. It's actually kind of interesting. Well, I guess they always say I've got to go to Vulcan. That's probably specific enough. Like, once they get to Vulcan, they can handle it. But, or do you think that's it? They just have to go to Vulcan? Because I don't know how you'd evolve that, because you wouldn't leave your planet. But actually, I think it's just that you need a Vulcan, and Vulcans generally live on Vulcan. I think Tuvok did it with a hologram. Somehow no one thought of that before. You know, I bet he probably could have. I mean, he'd have to acknowledge it, but he probably could have lied. He could have told Bones this was like a deadly rare Vulcan disease. It affects like old Vulcans, and that's why he's ashamed. Is this the first time we've seen him with his little loot thing? I do actually. I don't know if we've seen it before, but I like Spock's quarters. I mean, they're pretty plain, like a lot of them are, but he's personalized them about as much as you can. Why do you need medical ethics? Here's my chief medical officer. Spock will literally die. Yeah, I blame Kirk on that one. Look, you didn't even have Bones try. I like Nurse Chapel there. It's like, great, another mutiny. Do you know how much paperwork it takes to mutiny? Or better. Can you do Warp 8? Oh well, it doesn't matter. It's TOS, they don't really have these rules. It worked so well last time, let's just do it again. Let's go visit Spock. It is actually interesting looking at his quarter because there's a lot of weaponry. It feels more like what you might expect for the quarters of a Klingon. And this episode has like ritualistic combat and stuff. It just, I get the impression that the idea of a Vulcan in TOS was much different to what it becomes. Well, I have a rule. I don't hook up with people I've been with before. I don't know. That's a good point. No one else does. I don't know. It's real hard to judge the Christine and Spock scenes because Strange New Worlds isn't done yet. But I don't know. I have a lot of problems with Christine in general. Like I understand they took the character who was generally pretty fast, uh, passive and like kind of defined by being in love with Spock, and turned her into essentially something that's not sexist. But because it's a prequel, it mean what they're kind of telling is that this like very strong independent woman is gonna devolve to the point of being a pretty passive nurse, which seems like a demotion for her, who just like fawns over Spock all the time. So I don't know. It also complicates all these scenes where they've had a relationship, and I can't really see you fixing that. But yeah, I don't know. I just think Chapel would have worked a lot better if she was some other character, not Nurse Chapel. Like, exact same woman, just change her name. And I feel like it would work so much better. And it even add to these scenes where, like, Spock did try a romantic relationship, and this is why he's so distant to Christine. I would have added a lot, I think. The federal government has said you can't dock here, so, like, no. You're under arrest. Look at her just watching the screen. It's not even on. She's like, I want to see what's happening. I know we broke up, but... No, Spock, it really was a parted. Man, I wish those were my vows. That's how I welcome people to the wedding. I mean, I got married in a early, or was it late? A TNG uniform. I don't remember which. No, she's your fiance, Spock. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Is that an ocean? Oh my god. Vulcan has an ocean? Anyone watching the original, did Vulcan have an ocean? Actually, something I've always wondered, you know that red planet in the intro? Brilliant shot, by the way. Probably remastered. That red planet in, like, the intro music. In my head, it's always, like, Vulcan or Mars, but I don't actually know if it's supposed to be either. Oh, look, a city in the background. It's actually very Romulan. In the remaster, there's a city in the background that looks a lot like the Romulan capital. And I don't know if it's intentional, but I like that, given what we learned. Not learned, what we have learned about the Romulans, you know? I like the wind chimes. I'd buy one if I didn't own, like, 3 wind chimes already. I guess if you were to tell a story about the distant Vulcan past, they basically would be like Klingons. They'd be standard warrior race. If you've never been, it's like just next door, Bo. I have that. What am I saying? I live in Washington. I've never been to Canada. Good ears. Yes, Kirk, oh, that's right. I was gonna say keep up, but he actually is keeping up. Wait, they are married? Oh, okay. I see. God, I'm trying. We have the mind meld, I think. I think we've established the mind meld. Yes, because we have the Horta one. Hang on, so is Ponfar artificial? He makes it sound like if they didn't do that, like, mind-touching thing, they'd... He just wouldn't have to go to Vulcan, you know? And yes, Vulcans have arranged marriages, which is just kind of weird. I'm trying to think, actually, like, what's the benefit? Let's just take for granted that Vulcans won't, like, fall in love. So I'm like, maybe it's practical, you know? Like, you find your Ponfar mate, so, like, when it's time, you got the person. That makes sense. But, like, what about now? Your spacefaring civilization. I guess when Spock was a kid, the idea of him leaving the planet would have been a little still, like, weird. But, you know, like, as they become more spacefaring, just the closest Vulcan seems like it would do in that case. Oh my god, what is that? What is that mask? Normally, people have goofy helmets to hide, like, expensive prosthetics. But what the hell is that guy wearing? Did he, like, break his nose or something before filming? Fun fact here, the Vulcan, president lady, can't actually do the hand symbol. And so you'll notice she always raises it, her hand from out of frame. I think she might have been like a somewhat big name, which is why they have her specifically doing this. But out of frame, she's like using her other hand to make the Vulcan symbol and then raising it up. Just, it's always funny to think about. Damn ancient laws not banning aliens. They didn't have the foresight. I bet she knows Kirk. She seems like the kind of person who would know Kirk. No. I don't know why I'm here. T'Pau. Famous Vulcan started the rule of all Vulcan women are to something. Is it just me, or did, like, Lower Decks or Discoveries? I feel like someone broke that once. Is it Prodigy? What's Prodigy's Vulcan name? I don't think it's to something. I swear someone broke that. Vulcan. Majel, that's right. Horrible taboo, of course. I wonder at what point they started. Was it coincidence that, like, both the women were named T'Pring and, like, Tamao or whatever? Or, was it just... Or did it go for, like, years until finally someone decided, you know what? All women have a T name. Which itself raises some interesting questions about Vulcan society, especially when you give that they have arranged marriages and all that gunk. It's just a bizarre Vulcan society with what we know it becomes. Is it the guy who looks like a Romulan? There's something about him. Maybe it's the green. He looks more like a Romulan than a Vulcan, and for the life of me, I can't tell you why. Is it just his grumpy face? Yeah, we gotta go to Altair, whatever. It just Bones, I don't understand. Are you telling me that the woman who Spock hasn't seen in like 50 years and, well, ignore Strange New Worlds, and, you know, was arranged in this marriage doesn't want to marry Spock? My arranged wife married me just fine. Like, why though? It's always baffled me. Even within TOS, where Vulcans are a very logical, like, yes, ordered society, but what's the point of all this? Is it just, like, so the aliens could be alien? I don't know. It's just, it's always felt a little weird to me how it portrays Vulcans, even in, like, just the TOS sense. I do like T'Pring's outfit, though. And I have to admit, she does seem a little more emotional than the other Vulcans, which is in Strange New Worlds comparison, not comparison, take on the character, you know? Hey, you. Is it his jawline? Why does that guy look like a Romulan to me? Is it because it's sort of the Romulan outfit? Is he the only one who doesn't have his chest out? That might be it. Yeah, that's it. All right, I'm happy now. And he doesn't have the helmet, too. Look at him. He's furious, though. I don't think that's how the law works, but it's nice of you to offer. That'd be fun. That's like a lower Dex joke. Dex joke, because they're on Kronos, and like a big beefy Klingon challenges Boimler to a fight to the death. But then like the Klingon judge comes out, and it's like, Boimler, our laws don't actually apply to you. You don't have to say yes. What would have happened if he said no, though, actually, come to think of it? Like, does Spock just get married? I mean, that's not fair on T'Pring, but why did Kirk say yes? Spock clearly doesn't want him to do it. Yes. Oh, man, he's doing, as I said, Leonard Nimoy's doing really good. It's rage, but it's still, like, trying to be suppressed and controlled. It's probably a good 50% the eyebrows, but still. It's also in the acting. Where's your dad, by the way? He's probably at Altair, actually, or whatever the planet was called. Your mom, on the other hand. I wish, maybe they do. I doubt it, but when we see Sarek and his mom, Amanda, later on this season, Amanda's like, why the hell didn't you tell me about your wedding, Spock? Or maybe she just still doesn't know. Oh, okay, see, at least we're going to address it now. What do you mean, don't interfere? He's supposed to interfere. It's their custom, sure, I understand that. But if it's literally the law, like he's on Vulcan. Yeah, just tilt the camera. That'll make it exciting. Like, look at this. Is this really Vulcan? Look at these guys jingling bells, like walking around the fire just exploded. Like, come on. This is not a logical society. I mean, maybe you could try and make an argument that after they found like Sarek's original teachings in Enterprise, they went back to tradition a bit, but I think you're really trying to craft something at that point. Even when Strange New Worlds did it, it's still like a little weird, you know? At least you don't have like Vulcans jiggling bells all over the place. You know, I can see why they put this one first though. After like a year of gap, this is probably the best of like the first 5 we've seen so far. And you couldn't put the Halloween fun first because it's not Halloween. You know, I think this is also the first case where I don't think anyone's actually done a challenge in like 1,000 years or whatever, you know? Usually people freak out, because you would, if someone invoked like 1,000-year-old arbitrary rule to like commit murder or essentially get out of a contract. But, ah, dang it, when I said Kirk doesn't understand, maybe I should have said, Kirk, it's a fight to the death. But, you know, and here they're just like, yeah, let's just have a fight to the death, you know? It's like if the government pulled out, like, actually, it turns out there's a 1642 law that execution by cow trampling is legal. And it's like, oh, yeah, let's just go with that. I also just imagine, like, he goes back to Earth, and they're like, oh, you killed Spock, but that's all right. Or hell, when, like, tomorrow everyone wakes up and learns that Kirk is still alive, and they're like, hang on a minute. I also think, doesn't this cure Spock of his Pon farr? Man, maybe they should just try that. You don't need to, you know, mate with the hologram. You just have to, like, fight a hologram to the death. I'm now imagining an alternate version of the Tuvok Pon farr episode, where instead they just get, like, B'Elanna to come and fight Tuvok. Or maybe Chakotay, he did boxing. Was Seven around? Great music. I don't know. I don't think we've had it before on Muck Time, but it truly is a fantastic soundtrack. Wait, his shirt, oh, I know, it's still torn. Come to think of it, actually, Kirk's doing amazingly. Like, there's a thin atmosphere. Vulcans are already super powerful. I think we've established that at least to a point. Yes. I can drug him. I can dope him. Oh, yeah, that's fair. I wonder, maybe that's just an accepted thing. You know, if you're running a marathon on Vulcan, all the humans get to dope themselves up. I don't know. If I were to pring, I might eject, you know? Like, I don't think this is fair. He could be injecting him with anything, which, to be fair, he is. But Bones, does this shirt make my pecs look good? I'm gonna kill him by just stunning him. He'll be frozen, staring at my pecs. Yeah, look, this is totally unfair. Now Kirk gets rearmed. Like, you know, Spock had a massive advantage there. Also, is the implication that Spock, like, trains with all this stuff? You know, you get what I'm saying? It's a good episode, but if you just think about kind of anything related to Vulcan here, it's weird. But at least you got this soundtrack. Trying to work out if those are stunt doubles or not. Oh, yeah, no. I think Spock's a stunt double now. Yeah, that's not Leonard Nimoy. Look at that guy. In fact, it's like kind of interesting that William Shatner is doing that stunt. Like, he could genuinely be choked if something went wrong. Oh, well, there you go. That's a stunt double. We need the stunt double for the scene where you're lifted up. That one actually doesn't seem that dangerous, I'm going to be honest. Look, Bones, you could at least pretend to take a pulse. You could probably see him breathing, you know? I mean, he actually doesn't appear to be breathing. Like, this is a Federation world. You know? I'm only detecting 2 life signatures. Yes. Look at me. I'm the captain now. I think you could overrule that if you really wanted. I mean, he doesn't, fair, but I just kind of like how he treats it like, yeah, you know, this is normal. It's probably in the Vulcan system. In fact, I'd be amazed if they're not already in a starbase. It's Vulcan. Although he didn't commit a crime. I mean, I guess he's got to submit, you know, there's a lot of paperwork, but apparently he hasn't committed a crime. And even if he did commit a crime, he probably can get off for, like, biological insanity. Spock, you know how you were in Strange New Worlds. Well, she always was emotional. What's the point of the fight to the death? Hang on. Spock won. But he doesn't get anything out of it. Would you free her? Wait, Spock could just free her? Man, this is a bizarre ritual. But no, hang on. You couldn't have just called Spock? We already broke up. Can we just, like... Can you free me? There's literally no downside. She could call ahead and be like, Spock, if you don't free me, I will challenge. And, like, in theory, I guess he could just not. But Vulcans aren't so logical. They'll go, yeah, Kirk can die on the off chance Spock says no. Like, hang on, no, that's just weird. I mean, I guess Spock gets to not be a Pon farr, but in 7 years, he's going to have a lot of trouble. I mean, I doubt the years line up, but we never really address this other than search for Spock, which is weird situations, you know? Like, I don't know. Maybe you could get off on a federal charge, but... just, it... I don't know. I don't see him getting convicted with this. Even if he did commit a crime. Look, there's the city. It just... replace that concrete with a hole and it's Romulus. Oh, I almost paused it. We're not done. So... Nurse Chapel, I'm gonna need something in about 7 years' time. There's several, but go ahead. Whoa, I remember that line being... okay, there we go. I'm like, in my head, that was way more of an outburst. But also, Spock, you know this doesn't change the crime. Like, you fully thought you murdered your captain. It was just a deception. So if you think you're guilty, you're still guilty. Slow-acting neural paralyzer. What more could you want? What the hell is that gecko thing on the wall? Like, it's probably a statue, but what the hell is that? I mean, is that all it takes to overcome... write this down! I mean, I don't know. Look, you can't just have, like, Vulcans kill their best friend or whatever, but there's gotta be something to this, you know? Like, if it's suffering a great loss... maybe you could just inject them with, like, depression chemicals and it would cure him. You know, they'd balance out. Yeah, let's just not log in the computer that, you know, we left before getting that order. Yeah, of course, but I have just come off my Pon farr, you know? It's totally reasonable. I mean, he does have an excuse, though. Like, I'm literally just coming off the Pon farr. Yeah, there we go. That was Amok time. As I said, it's good. It's an enjoyable episode. I just wouldn't rate it as highly as most. It just... both with, like, the context of the rest of the show, Vulcan is unrecognizable in ways that kind of take me out of it a lot. But even just internally within the episode and TOS, as we've seen it so far, Vulcan feels weird, and, like, the culture on its own doesn't really seem workable. Also, hey, for the first time ever, I have that planet from the intro, which is the thumbnail on one monitor, and Vulcan on the other, and I can see that it is absolutely not the same planet. Unless it's rotated, but I don't think so. So it might be Mars, but we've answered that question. But yeah, no, I think it was all right. Speaking of really praised episodes that I'm not as big a fan of as most, the Doomsday Machine is next week. That's a good one. I remember remembering it's great, and then not meeting my expectations on the last watch through. So I might bounce back. I might be in that sort of wobble period where I'm kind of focusing in on how good I think the episode is. So maybe I'll be blown away and it's better than I think. But yeah, with Amok Time, we are entering a string of good episodes. We got Doomsday Machine. Wolf in the Fold, I think, will be fun. The Changeling with Nomad. The Apple's a bit of a but then you have Mirror, Mirror, After the Deadly Years. You got Mud, Tribbles, Bread and Circuses, Journey to Babel. As I've said, I think most episodes after this point are generally pretty good ones in Season 2. And I'm a big fan of Season 3. I think Season 3 is overhated. But yeah, I will say thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.